Hi guys, this is Chris with IPGRentals.com, and today we're going to talk about the GoPro Hero 7 Black. Let's check it out. Okay, so here I have it right here on this stand, the GoPro Hero 7 Black. So just a few things off the bat. You can see that it's a little bit bigger and wider than the previous models. And I'll be honest with you, today I'm not going to quite touch on every tiny detail of this because the mechanics are quite similar to every other GoPro that they have come out with in the past. So the things I want to really highlight today are what is worth highlighting, and immediately we're going to go with the stabilizer. Huge thing. It really does help, and it's pretty accurate. It's not any kind of crazy wave warp, and we'll actually show you that. We'll do a Hero 4 and a Hero 7 comparison that we'll show you in just a little bit, just to kind of see what the stabilization looks like. And then from there also, there's something called time warp. And no, it is not, let's do the time warp again. It is the hyperlapse, essentially what it is. It's a hyper smooth time lapse that you can actually, it really smooths out the motion. So you can get a super smooth and stabilized look with your time lapse, which you usually wouldn't get with just a standard time lapse because you would see every little individual shake and everything like that. So we're just going to kind of go into the specifics about what they've improved on, what looks better, and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and jump inside this menu right here. So what's great right off the bat is touchscreen. Obviously, GoPro started to release it, I think back at the 4, but this is quite an intuitive and very easy to use situation. And again, I'm not actually going to go into the phone part of it because the phone part of it, it's really exactly the same settings and also sharing your pictures and stuff like that. I only really want to talk about some super specifics, so I'm not going to go into the phone portion of it because you can do everything here really that you can do on the phone. So let's just talk about this right here. This is the video setting, and if I actually turn this to the side, you can see there's the power button right there, and that also doubles as the selector wheel for, not really a wheel, but the selector button for the different modes. So if you click it, and if you don't hold it down, if you just do a single click, it'll change between your time lapse, your video, and your photo. So let's actually hit video here first. Anything you want, just touch it. So you can, with 4K 60 and 16:9, get the hyper smooth look. There's a couple different things you want to look at. Hyper smooth is the extreme stabilization, and then just the, and I'll show you in 1 second, smoothness is not supported. So in 4.3, standard stabilization. So there are some modes you can get standard stabilization, which I believe is a crop factor of 10% of the frame to make it smooth. So you can see stabilization is not supported. If you go to 24 frames on the 4.3, standard stabilization is supported, which is, I believe, 10% crop to stabilize the footage. And then you go to 16:9, and it will stabilize a hyper smooth stabilization all the way to 60 frames. Obviously, you have to downgrade it to 2.7K. Now, here's a small experiment right here. Let's go to 2.7K and let's see if 120 frames. Okay, so stabilization stops at 60 frames. We'll show you a video in just a minute about the comparison between a GoPro, non-stabilized GoPro to this hyper smooth stabilization. And what I actually very much like about this too is that it will explain things to you in the menu. So say for instance, let's see here, I'm gonna go to 4K, full 4K, and I'm just gonna go to 24 frames. So what's very cool is it gives you a small little definition as to what a lot of the things are. So if you go to Super View, it says exactly what Super View is. So let me go back here. Super View stretches 4.3 content, full screen, 16:9, great for body and gear mounted shots. Now there's actually something that we did recently. It was a corporate show for a Realtors Association, and they did a Guinness World Book of Records challenge, and the challenge was that they made the biggest human key. So from above, they were all in the shape of a key, and we actually used this to do the video for it, and simple wide was not wide enough. So actually we went to Super View, and it was massive. I mean, it was 40 feet. The key was 40 feet long, and we were able to see the entire thing, which was really, really incredible. The Super View actually is a wonderful new feature from it. So let's see. Remember Pro Tune from before? That's just when you have it on, you are able to tune your settings specifically to your EV comp, your white balance, your ISO minimum and maximum. You can actually do all that. When you turn that off, it just becomes auto to get you the best image that it thinks you want. So we all know what ProTune is. So for color, they actually did introduce a log look in flat. I looked at it, it's really not that much of a difference, so I would probably steer away from that a little bit. That's really not flat enough to do much with. So, okay, so let's go ahead and go over here to photo. I'm not going to say too much about that. It's self-explanatory. Photo timer, burst, or single shot, or anything like that. So I'm not really going to jump into that. But here's the other thing I want to talk about. So time warp video is essentially a super stabilized hyperlapse. It is smooth as butter, honestly. You can get some really incredible stuff, and you can get some incredible stuff just walking it too. With like a chest mount, or if you're relatively stable, you can actually walk it like this as well. So you can do a bunch of things. Now, something to kind of understand, it is a video, so, and there's 5 minutes, you have to take 5 minutes of video for 20 seconds of hyperlapse, depending on the speed that you're slowing it down to. So it actually says it right there, speed to stabilize your video by 30 times. Tip, 5 minutes of recording creates 10 seconds of time warp video. So you can actually do 15 times that you're going to end up speeding it up, 5 times, 2 times, depending on how much content that you have. So we'll just kind of stick with that at the moment. And then wide, you only have one option for this at this resolution anyway, so we can stay at 4K. So right now I want to do 2 comparisons. I wanted to show you guys the difference between a time lapse, just a standard time lapse, and a hyperlapse, and see the smoothness of that. So let's check that out. So you can definitely see the smooth kind of creaminess of one versus the other. You can definitely see a little bit of motion to the other time-lapse video versus the time warp video. The second thing I wanted to show you was the stabilization. We're going to have on one side, it's going to be just a standard GoPro with no stabilization. On the other side is going to be this new hyper smooth stabilization. So those were the 2 videos together, and you can see there's a huge difference in between the 2. So altogether, as far as the GoPro, those things are really, really awesome additions. There's only a few cons. Battery life, again, it's better than the previous models. It is not way better than the previous models. So, you know, this probably drains through in about an hour of use and being on. And again, different applications. If you're doing time lapse, obviously you have more battery than you would if you were doing just a standard video. Another thing is this case is a little bit of a pain, the case that it comes with. And if you want to do an HDMI feed or anything like that, HDMI out, or to plug in the USB, you actually have to remove this case to do that. So it makes it a little bit counterintuitive to kind of get that stuff done. So really, those few things, those 2 things, are really the only complaints that I have about it. They've really updated the system. And again, that's the big problem with GoPro, was it's shaking it. So it really does, you know, take a lot of like the Osmo and stuff, the handheld stuff kind of out of the game. Why have that big, you know, bigger apparatus when you could just have this you know, smaller thing on like just this little handle? Because again, it can't handle all jerky motions, but it can handle a basic regular walk or even, you know, a jog. And that's the GoPro Hero 7 Black. At IPGrentals.com, we want you to feel very confident with the gear that we rent. So we're constantly updating our videos with new tips and tricks about brand new equipment that we put into our inventory. So please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, it's our gear, it's your vision, IPGrentals.com.